Hi there, everybody. Welcome once again to a new session of reading Machiavelli's Discourses. We're still in Book 1, and today we're looking at Chapter 6, which is the question right here, whether a state could have been ordered in Rome that would have taken away the enmity between the people and the Senate. So, okay, the question is, could Rome have been ordered differently so that the fight between the people and the Senate would not have happened? We have, now let's check this down a little bit. So we have discoursed above on the effects produced by the controversies between the people and the Senate. Previous chapter, right? Now, since they continued until the time of the Gracchi, when they were the cause of the ruin of the free way of life, one might desire that the people had desire that Rome had produced the great effects that it produced without having such enmity within it. In other words, the Gracchi. The problem was the Gracchi and how the Gracchi thing. The Gracchis gave rise to a response to what happened to the murderer of the Gracchi. Brought basically the armed civil wars that led to first to the rise of Marsyas, and then the competition between Marsyas and Sulla, and then Sulla's done, then the response, Caesar and those other big powers who were armed, and therefore against the Senate, therefore the end of the Republic, right? So therefore, in many ways, the Gracchi kind of seal the deal, as they say, right? It ends the free way of life, the free republic. One might have desired that Rome had produced great effects that produced without having such enmity with it, right? It would have been great without having the enemy. So it has appeared to me a thing worth consideration to see whether a state could have been ordered in Rome that would have removed the aforesaid controversies, right? The tension between the plebs and the Senate, the notables. For him who wishes to examine this, it is necessary to have recourse to those republics that have been free for a long time, for a long while, without such enmity and tumults, to see what state they had and whether it could be introduced in Rome. For example, among the ancients there was the Spartans, there was Sparta. Among the moderns, Venice, named by me above. So Sparta made a king with a small senate who governed it. Venice did not divide the government by names. But under one appellation, all those who can hold administration are called gentlemen. This mode was given it by chance more than by prudence of him who gave them laws. For since many inhabitants retired unto the shores where that city is now, for the causes said above, the thing for the emperor and the wars and conflicts, and the barbarians coming in, and they grew to such a number that if they'd wished to live together, they needed to make laws. They ordered a form of government. Now, this is interesting. Let's look at this. Florentine histories, right? This is right there. A form of government. And as they joined together often in council to decide about the city, when it appeared to them that there were as many as could be sufficient for a political way of life, they closed to all others who might come newly to inhabit the way enabling them to join in the government. In other words, all the others who might come newly to inhabit them, the way enabling them to join the government. So they closed off all others to all others, to be coming into the government. So therefore, those who were there first, therefore by fortune in that sense. In time, when enough inhabitants found themselves in the place outside the government, so as to give reputation to those who govern, they called the latter gentlemen and the other populace. This mode could arise and be maintained without tumult, because when it arose, whomever then inhabited Venice was put in the government, so that nobody could complain. Those who came later to inhabit it, finding the state already the state steady and closed off, had neither cause nor occasion to make tumult. The cause was not there because nothing had been taken from them. The occasion was not there because whomever ruled held them in check and did not put them to work in things in which they could seize authority. So therefore, again, this is the example of the Venetians. So he mentions Sparta king, but then Venice, but then spends all his time here on Venice, right? In the Venetian situation. And besides this, those who came later to inhabit Venice were not many, nor of such numbers that there was a disproportion between whoever governed them and those who were governed. For the number of gentlemen is either equal to or superior to them. So in other words, they were always smaller. In other words, anyone who came later, the people who came later, were always fewer than the people who were. There were less of them, and they were not. They didn't. In other words, they were diverse. People who came were not just one group. So it wasn't a sizable, a homogeneous group that could challenge the other things. And also overall, they were proportionally fewer than them, right? For the number of gentlemen is equal to or superior to them. So that these causes, Venice could order the state and maintain it united. Now he returns to Sparta in the second paragraph. Sparta, as I said, was governed by a king and by a narrow senate. It could have maintained itself for a long time because it could live united a long time. There were few inhabitants in Sparta, for they blocked the way of those who might come to inhabit it, and the laws of Lycurgus were held in repute. Since they were observed, they all removed all causes of tumult. So therefore, in other words, for Lycurgus with his laws made more equality of belonging. In other words, there's equality of belonging. Let's look at 5. Again, this is substances, of subsistence. They were able to eat belongings in Sparta, and less equality in rank. So there was equality in terms of their sustenance and their things, but their rank may have been different, right? For there was an equal poverty, and the plebeians were less ambitious because the ranks of the city were spread among few citizens, and were kept at a distance from the plebs. Nor did the nobles, by treating them badly, ever give them the desire to hold rank. In other words, the nobles treating the plebes badly, nor did the Romans, by treating them badly, ever give the desire to hold rank. This was because the Spartan king, placed in the principality and set down in the middle of the nobility, had no great remedy for upholding their dignity than to keep the plebs defended from every injury, which made the plebs fear not and not desire to rule. Since the plebs neither had nor feared rule, the rivalry that it could have had with the nobility was taken away, and as well as the cause of atonement, and they could live united a long time. But 2 principal things caused this union. One, that they were few inhabitants of Sparta, and because of this, they could be governed by few. The other, that since they did not accept foreigners in their republic, they had opportunity neither to be corrupted nor grow so much that it was unendurable in those who, by the few who governed it. So therefore, they were limited. They didn't bring the Spartans, and he's being silent about the fact that they wholly relied on this the Helots. They enslaved the Helots for this. So they're equality, but they were equally in poverty in that sense. It says there, but even though they're unequal in rank, even if the Senate, even if the nobles were that the king, who was also, in other words, The only way the king could defend themselves against nobility was by defending the people, and therefore the people saw that, so therefore this was the check against the nobility against the people, right? So there was never a situation of this. And as he says, since they were no foreigners, they weren't corrupt in the Republic, they had the opportunity neither to be corrupted nor grow so much as it was unendurable for those the few who governed it, right? 3. Considering thus all these things, one sees that it was necessary for the legislators of Rome to do one of two things. If they wished Rome to stay quiet, like the above-mentioned republics, either not to employ plebs in war, as did the Venetians. In other words, the Venetians did not employ the plebs in war, they hired mercenaries, right? Nor open the way to foreigners, as the Spartans, close off that thing. They did both, which gave the plebs strength and increased the infinite opportunities for atonement. So therefore, they not only they opened the plebs for the soldiery, and they allowed new people to come in. Okay, they allowed for the growth of citizenship. But if the Roman state had come to be quieter, this inconvenience would have followed. That it would also have been weaker, because it cut off the way by which it could come to its greatness, the greatness it achieved. So that if Rome wished to remove the causes of tumult, it removed too the causes of expansion. In all human things, he who examines well sees this. That one inconvenience can never be suppressed without another cropping up. So in other words, it's all human things. This is a general rule, he asserts here. In regarding human things, one inconvenience cannot be suppressed without another coming up. So one bad, some problem, some inconvenience, some problem or inconvenience, you want to remove it, well, something else will come up, okay? New problems will emerge. You can't solve one problem without a new problem coming up, right? Therefore, if you wish to make a people numerous and armed, so as to be able to make a great empire, you make it of such quality that you cannot then manage it in your own mode. In other words, you make it such that you can't do it in the mode. The Senate can't keep it in control. In other words, the mode is the free republic and the mode. If it's too great, it's too big, you won't be able to keep it, he says. In other words, if you wish to make a people numerous and armed, as to make a great empire, you can make it of such quality that you cannot manage in your mode. If you maintain it either small or unarmed, so as to be able to manage it, then if you acquire dominion, dominion, you cannot hold it, or it becomes so cowardly that you are the prey of whoever assaults you. So therefore, in other words, his example here is, okay, if you don't do it, then you can't hold the people. You conquer a prey, you can't hold it. But if you're so weak, then you become the prey of those who want to come after you, right? So whoever assaults you. And so, in every decision of ours, we should consider where are the fewer inconvenience. In other words, what's less damp, okay? And take that for the best policy. Because nothing entirely clean and entirely without suspicions is ever found. So he makes a point. In other words, his argument is that nothing is ever perfect. Machiavelli's here is making a very important point, that nothing is ever going to be utopia. I was recently on a debate with this person who said, "Oh, man, this should be ideal situation, and the choice is between an ideal and this, something not so bad." I'm saying that's a false dichotomy. The choice is never really about a perfect condition. It's often something better and worse. In other words, you want this thing that has, every choice has costs, negatives, difficulties, problems, as well as good benefits, good things. A good thing, every choice that you think is good will have some cost, cause some problem, cause issues. You cannot escape problems. So, in the question of we're looking at the problems we're dealing with, or the inconveniences, he says in the text, you have to ask, well, which inconvenience worse? What is the worst? What is least bad? In other words, often we're not looking at the choices between perfection and non-perfection. The choices are often between different levels of imperfection, different levels of inconvenience. In other words, that one inconvenience that can never suppress another one, right? Because nothing entirely clean is entirely without suspicion is ever found. So Rome is similar to Rome in similarity to Sparta could have made a prince for life and made a small senate, but it could not, like Sparta, refuse to increase the number of its citizens. If it wished to make a great empire, that would have made the king for life and the small number of senate serve for little as far as the union was concerned, right? Next paragraph, four sections. If someone wished, therefore, to order a republic anew, he would have to examine whether he wished to expand like Rome in dominion and in power, or truly remain within the narrow limit. So the first thing, if you're going to make a new republic, you have to decide whether you want to have an expansion, you want to be an empire, or you just want to be left alone. Right? In the first case, it is necessary to order it like Rome and make a place for tumults and universal dissension as best one can. For without a great number of men and well armed, a republic can never grow, or if it grows, maintain itself. In other words, if you want it to be great, you want it to be powerful, you want to be an empire, you want to have dominion, then you have to need a lot of people, and they need to be armed, very well armed. In the second case, you can order it like Sparta and like Venice, but because expansion is poisonous for such republics, he who orders them should, in all the modes he can, prohibits them from acquiring. Because such acquisitions, found on a weak republic, are its ruin altogether. So it happened to Sparta and to Venice. In other words, so it happened. In other words, as Sparta becomes, after the collapse, Sparta becomes great. Sparta ultimately takes control and leads. After its defeat of Athens in the Peloponnesian War, it becomes the leader. It becomes the large force. And what happens? It becomes not able to maintain itself. Right. This is what will lead everyone to march against it and finally defeat it, right, and crush and free the Helots, right. Now, first of these, after it had subjected almost all of Greece to itself, showed its weak foundations upon one slightest accident. For when other cities rebelled, following the rebellion of the Thebes caused by Philippides, that republic was altogether ruined. Similarly, in other words, this Sparta, right, having seized a great part of Italy, and the great part not with war, but with money and astuteness. When it had put its forces to the proof, Venice lost everything in one day. Right, that's that infamous battle. Right, this is the. Where Venice was defeated and there was a complete one day and lost everything in one day. Again, this is something he talked about in The Prince. I would well believe that to make a republic that would last a long time, the mode would be to order it within the likes of Sparta or like Venice. In other words, you want to make it a long time, make it like Sparta, like Venice. To settle it in a strong place of such power that nobody would believe he could crush it at once. So therefore, you want to be long, okay, you make it like Venice that, but you put it in a place where that no one could easily crush it at once. On the other hand, it would not be so great as to be formidable to its neighbors. In other words, it couldn't impose its will on its neighbors. So it could not enjoy its state at length. For war is made on a republic for two causes. One, to become master of it, and the other, for fear lest it seize you. So in other words, you want two reasons: war. I want you. I want what you have, and I want to master you. Or two, I want to seize you. I fear you. So I for fear lest I fear you, because I think you're going to go after me. These two causes repeat here. And these two causes said above take away almost altogether. These two causes, the mode said above, this one, being the mode said above, almost takes away almost altogether. In other words, what was the thing above? You want longevity, and you go into a safe place that no one can crush you, but you're surrounded by powerful neighbors, or they think you're powerful. In other words, these two causes. I want what you have, or in fear of you're going to do something to me. Causes the mode set above. That is that not stable regime, not armed, not large people. Be like Venice, be like Sparta. What is it? Where is it? Always, in other words, that's it. Said above takes away almost together. For if it is difficult to capture, as I presuppose, since it is well ordered for defense, it will happen rarely or never that one can make a plan to acquire it. So therefore, okay. In other words, if it's can't be captured like this and it's like this, if it's put in a situation, it'll prevent people from trying to capture it, right? He says, for if it is difficult to capture it, as I presuppose, since it is well ordered for defense, it will rarely happen that one will, rarely or never that one can make a plan to acquire it. If it stays within its limits, as it has seen by experience that there is no ambition in it, it will never occur that one will make war for fear of it. So as long as it doesn't expand, doesn't do anything, doesn't grow aggression, in other words, as long as it stays within its scope, it doesn't show aggression, it doesn't create fear in others for fear of it. So much more would be, and so much the more this would be if there were in it a constitution and laws to prohibit it from expanding. So in other words, not only its location, there's a constitution and there's the laws that stop it. You can't expand. No, you can't do this. You can't grow. So therefore, yes, that not only there's no ambition in it like this, but the constitution and the laws prohibit its expansion or make it difficult, right? Without doubt, I believe that if the thing could be held balanced in this mode, it would be the true political way of life and the true quiet of the city. So therefore, if you can do it, if you can arrange it, that it's a situation where you can defend it, you can do it, you can do it so that you don't need to have the citizens, you can moderate it in that sense, that this would be the true political way of life. Because it wouldn't be, as he says, it could be strong enough that it's in a situation and defendable, that it's formidable enough that no one wants to can take it easily, and as long as it doesn't go and expand on its neighbors, it's in other words, it's too costly to grab. The cost is too high for the benefit of mastering it. And as for that, it is not intimidate or cause fear of others of it. Other people aren't afraid of it and think that or fears its ambition, right? And it doesn't have, and the way it does this it can't expand is not only is there's a lack of ambition by the people, but there is also there's the laws and the constitutions that prohibit it from expanding. This would be this. But since all things of men are in motion and cannot stay steady, they must either rise or fall. So this is that interesting line that, in other words, you can't have simply things that must either rise or fall. This is Florentine Histories. And to do many things that reason, and to many things that reason does not bring you, necessity brings you. So in other words, the nature of this is, okay, let's go back here for a second. And since all things of men are in motion, because okay, but what do you mean by this? We come into the world, we are born, we age, we mature, we die. In other words, that is motion. That is what it means, that there's always going to be motion. And Greek word motion is metobole, change. Because there is motion, there is going to be change. And cannot stay steady. You cannot have stasis. Now, stasis, and literally, it's like, that's one aspect of that. But that also means, that the metaphor of stasis in Greek was that to cause conflict, right? Someone gets up here and cause faction or dispute. But the metaphor is by standing up. I stand up to stand against you, and then stand still, standing up and standing still, to stand up against that. So therefore, that's why in the Greek it says there's an irony in the word of that. But the other meaning of the word in the Greek is just frozen, to be frozen and start. And why did I think that? Is because, cannot stay still, stay steady. Because we are in motion, we're living. We can't do that. So, again, so you must either rise or fall. And what? And to many things that reason does not bring you. In other words, that reason doesn't bring you here. Reason doesn't bring you here. Okay, sorry for that. That's interruptions, ring, 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 and try to silence things in this. So, therefore, this is what happens here, this idea that, reason doesn't bring you this. In other words, saying that, our intentions don't bring you this. It's necessity does. Reality, the external world, other things, forces. Necessity is the things you don't choose. It's things that are imposed on you. Okay? Reason is things you deliberate about and choose. You would choose, choice, deliberate about and make a decision for this. So choosing this doesn't bring you this, but necessity does. But necessity brings you. So when a republic that has been ordered so as to be capable of maintaining itself does not expand, and necessity leads it to expand, this would come to take away its foundations and make it come to ruin sooner. In other words, this is the point. This is why, this is the point in Aristotle about what happened with the Athenians. The Athenians, a war brought the Persian War. In order to defeat the Persians, they needed to use the sailors. But once the victory came because of the sailors, you had to give the sailors more say. The people who were the sailors, who were the lowest, of course, the parts of the city, they became authority. That changed the democracy, right? That's the famous line. In history, that once you have certain things, in other words, necessity caused certain things. Outside forces, historical accident, outcomes in order to achieve a victory, something caused. There was this regime that's done like this, doesn't want to expand, but then expansion is forced on it. Why? Because, let's say, an enemy comes to attack it, or something attacks it, and in defending itself, it defeats it. Now it controls it unwillingly controls what it never sought to control. Okay, and now it's ruined. It doesn't know how to do it. It doesn't handle it. It's changed. There's populations and things that it never planned on. So, on the other hand, if heaven were so kind that it did not have to make war, from that would arise the idleness to make it either effeminate or divided. So therefore, let's say you don't need to war. War doesn't happen. It doesn't have any situation that it has to make war. But it's what two things would happen. Its idleness will make it either effeminate or divided. These two things together, or each by itself, would be the cause of its ruin. Okay? So even if there's no war, the effeminate would be people not longer respect it. They'd be despised. This would cause conflict within inside, or divided into factions, and either one of these two things would cause its ruin. Therefore, since one cannot, as I believe, balance this thing, nor maintain the middle way exactly, in ordering a republic, there is need to think of the more honorable part, and to order it so that if indeed necessity brings it to expand, it can conserve what it has seized. In other words, it needs to be able to. In other words, it needs to be designed in such a situation that if necessity forces it to expand, so that we don't choose to expand, but if necessity forces it to expand, it can preserve what it had. It can still conserve what it has seized. In return to return to the first reasoning, the first question, right? I believe that it's necessity to follow the Roman order, and not that of the other republics, the Venetian or in that Roman case. For I do not believe one can find a mode between the one and the other, and to tolerate the enmities that arose between the people and the Senate, taking them as an inconvenience necessary to arrive at Roman greatness. In other words, if you're going to get the dominance of Rome, then you're going to have to deal with the people's the fight, the tumult between the people and the nobles. For besides the other reason cited, in which the tribunate authority was demonstrated to have been necessary for the guard of freedom, right? That brings up the previous chapter, right? The benefit produced in the republic by the authority to accuse, which was among others committed to the tribunes, can easily be appreciated, and will be discoursed of it in the next chapter. So therefore, what is the idea that the tributes, the freedom that brought by the tribute, the guard of freedom, the protection the authority to accuse, Now this is going to be brought up in the next chapter, next chapter in that sense, in the following chapter. So let's stop here. If you have any comments, questions, or things that you want to talk about, please put them in there and I'll respond to them when I see them. If you like the chapter, hit it, hit the like button, share it far and wide, share it on your social media, share it among your friends, bring attention to it. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Encourage others to subscribe as well. I'll check out some of the other videos we have in this series and the things we've done. The 2 runs of the Prince, as well as other authors, both ancient and modern. If you didn't like it, of course, you can always thumbs down, but please say why in the comments. This way we can have an opportunity to learn. Maybe we can correct me if I made a mistake or something like this. You think I want to correct it. Please say why. So, because this has other viewers can watch and learn. Another thing is, if you want to follow me on social media, you can do so. The links are below. If you want to know more about my academic scholarship and what I do as a scholar and things like that, you can check the academic social media links below those. And if you want to help me to do what I do, you can do so either through Subscribestar, Patreon, or buying one of my books by either your local bookstore or through an online distributor or through the publishers directly. The books are listed below. Okay, that's it. We hope to turn to the next chapter next. So I hope you have a good day. Take care and bye-bye.